What's up, y'all? My name is Stone. Welcome back to the channel, and this is the 2020 Ford Shelby GT500. This car is insane. Let's get to it. So the front of this car is absolutely so aggressive. It renders back to the GT350 and the GT350R, which they've been limited production numbers of. It is really aggressive front louvers. The first GT500 was actually produced back in the 1970s when they had the blood for speed way back when. This car dates back to almost the 5th generation GT500, where it was a lot more boxy in its design. The new generation Ford Mustang, especially with the 500, has done a really good job of really integrating these really sharp body lines while also keeping it really sleek in its design. We have a lot of really nice headlights with the LEDs up front, dating back to the older models, along with this giant grille and of course the really iconic Super Snake badge up front. So this car is also in carbonized gray metallic, and it also has really cool aero along the really nice front splitter and a little front splitter extension to really help with downforce up in the front. We have a really cool GT500 logo in the middle of the bumper, which was new for 2020. We also have a giant Shelby snake logo, which is of course iconic with the whole Shelby family, between the Cobra, the old 500s, the new Super Snakes. Any kind of Shelby is so iconic with this massive snake up in the front. So how about the headlights? You have these really cool 3 bars that are your running lights. Those are always iconic with Mustang. I'm really glad Ford kept those with the new 500. You also have these headlights that are also very bright, LED. I don't know what's going on around here. I think Ford should have done a better job. For $100,000. Should at least added a little LED around here just to make it look that much more aggressive. But hey, it'll come next year. So coming into the wheels and tires, we have 20-inch rims all the way around. We have 305 front, 315 rear. They're wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. The ones with the carbon package, which is about an $18,500 option, has the carbon front lip, carbon wheels, and carbon rear wing. It gives it a little bit more lightweight. This car weighs about 4,000 pounds. A Hellcat Challenger per se weighs about 4,400. C8 weighs a little bit less. You can tell a little bit of handling. I've driven one of the carbon ones, and you can just tell it's a little bit lighter, but unless you're a real professional on a racetrack, you're not gonna feel it on the street. This car handles great because of these tires and how wide they are. Say, you know, a regular wide body or non-wide body Challenger has 275s all the way around, versus a wide body has 305s all the way around. This one has 315s at the back, so you're getting great traction. Again, also rear wheel drive. You have 6-piston brake calipers in the front and 4-piston Brembos in the rear. This thing stops on a dime. It's a great handling car. Perfect. Come to the back of the car, we have these 3 iconic taillights of the Mustang. What I really like about the new generation is it really made them bigger and more broad, so you can see them, 1, for also safety, but 2, it just looks so much cooler at night. Again, you have this giant snake badge, so the Dodge owners know to back away. You have a giant rear spoiler along with the performance and aero package, adds this really cool back lip. Gets a little extra downforce in the back straightaways when you're on track, say we're at Atlanta, Nürburgring. This car actually has a time of 7 minutes and 39 seconds, which ties the lap with a Ferrari F430 Scuderia, which is just incredible that cars have come this far. Of course, you have your iconic 4 pipes that just sound absolutely amazing. You have normal mode, quiet mode, track mode, and sport mode, which really opens up the valves on the exhaust and just makes it sound so good for a stock exhaust. To the engine, we have a whopping 5.2-liter intercooled supercharged V8 producing around 760 horsepower. The GT500's competitors is the likes of the C8 Corvette producing around 550 horsepower, and of course the whole Hellcat lineup, along with the Hellcat that makes 707, the Hellcat Red Eye that makes 797, and of course the Jailbreak. But don't forget, you also have the Z01 that's also produced around 650 horsepower, especially with the 1LE with the aero package. So overall, it's direct competitors. It's pretty well much, you know, the horsepower is there along with his competitors. Necessarily not weight-wise. Of course, C8 is lighter, Hellcat is heavier. This one is a sweet mixture between the middle. I love how Ford didn't play any games with this engine bay. They left it all completely open, as a race car should be. It is, of course, has this really nice aluminum support bar in the engine to help it with roll. You have this giant Shelby a logo on the supercharger means you know what you're looking for whenever you see this car. You know this is a GT500. Also, you have this really cool hand-built with Pride logo from Ford, also slapped on the supercharger. My only criticism with the car is it has the coolant reservoir should be a little more down, but this car is fantastic. 0 to 60 is 3.3 seconds, and also red lines at 7,500 RPM. This thing screams. So coming into here, you barely even realize you're in a high-performance muscle car. You would never even imagine this thing has over 760 horsepower. This thing is luxurious, all the way to heated and ventilated seats. You have these really nice and very comfortable leather-wrapped seats with the ventilated. You also have a really cool Shelby logo in the seat, along with all your different drive modes, a button for your exhaust and for your race and regular modes. You have a really cool drive selector here, which is also found, in the newer Ford GTs, the Ford Explorer, and the Ford Expedition. You also have this really cool carbon fiber accent, which makes you, again, realize that you're in a race car. This thing is a race car for the street. You have a really cool GT500 plaque along with your chassis number, which is really cool. I think Ford did a great job with introducing that into these cars because these cars are rare. They're hard to find. They're not a dime a dozen. They cost a lot of money. They are insane cars. You have a really cool touchscreen display with Apple CarPlay. And you also have your dual clutch automatic transmission, which is 7-speed. You have a really nice Alcantara wrap steering wheel with the Cobra logo in the center, along with your white center line, so you know where your drive line is, the middle. You also have a B&O sound system that sounds absolutely fantastic when you're jamming out in this car. So one thing I really like about this car is the overall flow it has. You also have your gauges for when you're on track, your oil temp, and your oil pressure. You also have your very cool digital screen that displays when you're in normal mode, when you're in sport mode, and when you're in track mode. Very similar to the C8 in track mode, how the RPMs go horizontally across the screen. Some people like that. I really, really enjoy that because it's visually very appealing to me. Whenever you hit red line, whenever you're close to the rev limiter, you don't over rev your car. It's very helpful on track when you're trying to look straight ahead. It also is really cool. You have your different drive modes you can set, like an AMG on the steering wheel. You have the Cobra mode. You also have your suspension button and your steering button. So you can be like, hey, I'm going to go on track. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up my steering. I'm on a curvy mountain road. I want to tighten up my suspension. You can do that all from your steering wheel, which I think is super, super cool coming from a Ford. Notoriously, they have been very non-technologically with their car, and I think it's really cool that they're starting to go more towards going more technological, more hands-on, but also retaining that still raw V8, very enthusiastic feeling that you get from a GT500 that they used to have back in the race car days. Super, super cool. So another thing that's really cool about the GT500, my dad is going to love this, it also has a back seat. When my dad bought his Lotus Evora GT and 400, the back seat was very important to him. I have me and my sister. He loves picking us from school, you get groceries. A back seat is very practical for a sports car, and it's also very fun. You can fit a bunch of people back here. I'm 5'7", and I can fit back here perfectly. Again, headroom is a little, if you're over 5'10", you're not gonna be able to fit back here, but for a small guy like me, it's perfect. It runs along the lines of maybe a 911, also has a back seat. The Challengers have a back seat, but I've sat in a Challenger one. It's tight. It's not as big as this one. The Lotus one is also very small, of course, because it's a Lotus, but this one is very fun. It's very practical. It's very comfortable. The seats are just almost as comfortable as a GT500, the front seats. If it was me, I could also do a road trip back here. It's very comfortable. It's very nice. It's very nice to have back seats in a car like this. So yes, this car has a back seat. You can fit your helmets back here, you can fit kids back here, you can fit groceries back here. My only criticism with this car, there's no USB ports anywhere. The only time is in the glove compartment, and normally the driver, the passenger, is normally using the USB port. So if you're a teenager like me and like to play on your phone, there's no way you're gonna charge your phone back here if it's on 10%. So unfortunately, you're out of luck. Luckily, the sound of the engine helps with that, but still, very inconvenient, especially for a 2020 car. You also have your it's very bland back here. You have your little pockets down here. I mean, it feels kind of cheap. You have a plastic right here. There's no speakers back here. It's all up in the front. So obviously this car is made for two people. It's not made for a third person. It's very nice that it has a back seat, but overall quality-wise, I've seen better. I mean, you don't have any controls back here. At least in the Hellcats, you have heated and cooled seats in the rear seats. This one has nothing. It's very bland. So if you're a passenger back here, better have a fully charged phone and better not get bored easy. So talking about the back seats, it's really cool. They lay down. A lot of sports cars that have back seats don't have seats where you can lower them down. So if you need to go Home Depot, you need to buy some plywood, you need to buy some tables, some chairs for your cookout, you're going to the racetrack, your daughter needs a chair to suntan and drink her lemonade in, you can put all this in the trunk. You have a lot of trunk space back here. Again, I'm 5'7". I can fit back here just fine. Of course, you don't want to ride like this. This is a safety hazard. Don't do it. But if
you need to, you can. It has a lot of truck space for what you can. If you have buddies that go play golf with, you could easily fit 4 or 5 golf clubs back here. Me and my dad are big golfers. The Lotus is a pain to get golf clubs in, but we can do it. It'd be nice if we had a car like this where we could actually fit comfortably 4 and 5 bags in here just without having to move anything. This car is very practical and it's a great daily driver. So in the car, the GT500, again, we're in normal mode, easily drivable, merging onto a highway. It's very chill, very relaxed. Suspension is soft. It's a very good feeling. Steering is still just absolutely amazing. If you want to, you can turn it up between your suspension and your steering. You press these buttons. You can do normal steering. You can do sport steering. You can even do just like race steering, you know, or you can do suspension. You can do normal suspension, sport suspension. It just kind of depends on whatever driving you like. But just dailying it just nice and easy. It's very nice. Ride, you can just tell it's very stiff. It's a very race car. But man, it feels so good. You have your cooled seats. We have AC blasting. It's very comfortable and very relaxed. But if we want to dial it up, you can either have the choice to do the exhaust valve, which we press here, and go to sport mode or track mode. You can definitely hear a little bit more. Get a little more of that nasty normal. Now what's interesting is, versus I've driven, my dad used to have a Hellcat, and driven other cars such as another GT500 between, you know, the Trackhawks, the ZL1s, the Corvettes, the different ones that have superchargers. This one's really quiet for what it is. You obviously, if it was me, I would probably do a cold air intake, make that supercharger a little bit noisier. Right now, it kind of sounds similar to a Pro Charger. It's very quiet, it's very subtle, but the exhaust is what's really good. You know, you pop it up even into, you know, sport mode. You have the different displays, you have the different really nice, just aggressive tone to it. Just sounds so good. So we go ahead and pop it. We'll go ahead and pop it into track mode and just see. You know, so obviously with track mode, it puts the exhaust into track, and then you also have track suspension, which obviously now you can feel it's a little more bumpy. We're on, you know, an interstate, but they have different little patches. You can tell it's a little bit more rough ride. It wouldn't necessarily be for driving. Again, this is for track mode. Of course, track mode turns traction control off, which is notorious for Mustangs. Of course, we're not going to be sliding this car today. It has way too much power for me to handle personally. But it's such an amazing car. The sounds, we probably even just in a manual mode. You put it in manual, downshift 1 or 2 gears. We're going, you know, just a nice 70, but you can just hear the tone of this engine is just absolutely extraordinary. Roll into it a little bit. Absolutely amazing. Now, the only problem with this car is it does get speed fast. We just went to 75 to 80, just like that, and we went up to maybe, what, 25, 3,000 RPM, so you do have to be careful with this car. But, you know, just in terms of regular daily driving, the paddles are fantastic. They feel so precise. The shifts are so immaculate. I wouldn't say it's as close to a PDK. I have to say the C8 is probably on point with the fast of the shifts that it has. But overall, I mean, this car puts a smile on your face every single time. This thing just feels so amazing. We're going to turn off at some of the other roads and get some back roads. So we're in track mode. We're going to hit some little bit curvy roads, so we can roll into it a little bit. You can feel it's a little bit bouncy, but not too bad. Very controlled. Going to a downshift. Paddles are precise. They're very on point. Oh, this car is just magnificent. Go to a corner, brakes. Absolutely fantastic. A little bit of brake, similar to a Hellcat. You have a little bit of brake pressure, but not too much. As you roll into it, you still have more of that bottom end in a downshift. Beautiful. And again, we're not going crazy. We're below 5,000 RPM. We're below 4 actually. Not anything crazy. We can just tell this car is so well balanced, so well revolutionized. It just feels so good around these corners. And all you hear is that V8, that 5.2 liter supercharged V8. It's just music to my ears. So keep going around these corners. Oh, just beautiful. Downshift.
I think that might have been a cop.
Downshift to get hit with. This car, we're going to go ahead and brake a little bit coming into a stop sign. We're going to go ahead and apply a brake. Brakes are just so good. Downshift again. This car was absolutely amazing to drive. This again was the 2022 Shelby GT500. It is available for sale at Mall of Georgia Mini. Thanks again for letting us have this car for the day. It's currently listed for $98,000. If you want an amazing car, come get it today at Mall of Georgia Mini.